Nearly 200 free-roaming horses died searching for water on Navajo's parched land. I'm Alex Ansary. It is May 7th in the year 2018. And so I look at stories like this about what's happening in the physical world, but I also look at what's happening with humanity. The last few days I was watching quite a few videos on YouTube about homelessness. And then also looking at the number of videos, for example, homelessness and the word Portland, say, for example, the last month, but also looking at Colorado, looking at other areas. So this is a big, big deal. There's actually more talk about these free roaming humans having nowhere to go over resources. There's more of that than I've ever seen before. There's even concerns about the end of water for towns like this, eventually, with the idea of a drought continuing. But we do have these cycles, but we have an increased population. We have stricter regulations than we used to live under years ago, and some of those might seem to be necessary to conserve resources. Some of those are totally unnecessary. Certain regulations on humans saying that you need certain things to live up to code simply so you can basically live within your means on your own land. And we still have a system that wants us consuming things, creating pollution, using their resources, things of that nature in urban environments. So this is the story that I'm looking at. Here's the picture. This is actually a picture of many dead horses. And as we look at these issues, these first world problems within our own civilization, we have issues with humans trying to get away from other humans and other regulations to box them in. Those wild horses. And then when you look at the increased regulation on wild horses and the fact that they've been murdered by BLM. Oh, and we should be so grateful to BLM, to the Bureau of Land Management, for allowing us to camp on public lands for 2 weeks at a time as long as we keep moving. As long as we keep moving, like those horses. And I just noticed this here. And actually, you know, it's interesting that horses is in the conversation because the first time that I went off-grid in Costilla County, they had wild horses. In fact, there was even a night where I was sleeping in that yurt, which is no longer there because of regulation. It was actually in the wrong spot, so the yurt's been since moved. But there was one night where the horses came in, and those horses, right, were like startled, like, oh, there's somebody in the yurt. Oh, okay, I guess we're gonna go. So they also used what I used for shelter, both myself and wild horses. At some point or another, and perhaps other wild animals, have used the same material to shelter ourselves. So listen, we're becoming numb to what's going on. We're becoming numb to what's happening to people around the planet. People are overlooking the potential of a robot apocalypse. We see actually some of the comments in the Far Cry 5 video, which was demonetized, by the way, and people being concerned that this is about AI training to exterminate humanity. And I talk a lot about this matrix that we're in. I don't totally see us as victims. I see us as people that are in this matrix for a reason. And so we need to look at what those reasons are. You know, we need to ask ourselves, what does it take for humans to evolve beyond this matrix? Because we're still in a animal farm of sorts. We're not so separated from what's happening to the animals out there. We're not so separated from treating humans like animals. We're not so separated as a society from treating some animals that are preferred better than humans. So in that case, treating animals in a better way. Some people have a closer connection with their pet dog, for example, or care more for a pet dog than they do or would another human being. And this is also becoming popularized as we see the rise of the sex bots. So we should also care about humans, not just talk about, you know, the atrocious things that are being done to animals. For example, I've mentioned PETA, I've mentioned other organizations and people that will talk about the horrible things that people do in general, just to generalize while highlighting the crimes against animals while overlooking that animals also eat each other as well. Being completely fundamentalist from a textbook vegan perspective while overlooking the atrocious things that happen to human beings as a result of war, that's not in balance. For someone to truly be in a compassionate mindset or state of consciousness, they should care for all living creatures. And what I've come to learn is you can take someone out of Babylon, you can't necessarily take Babylon out of the person. There are people that live in these beautiful natural areas that are not grateful. There could be a period, for example, and there was, where people were talking about fire, oh my God, fire, 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 oh my God, anything can happen, oh my God, it's so dry. And then there'll be like rain and snow, and they'll be like, and they'll go back to playing video games or watching Trump talk or something like that. They're not going, praise God. And I'm not like a super religious individual, but I wasn't seeing a whole lot of that, appreciation and gratitude energy in the days that we had a lot of rain here. So we have people that aren't healing from just simple exposure to nature. They're actually just trying to get away from the toilet that they and their peoples created. They're just simply trying to get away from the toilet, whether they're conscious of that or not. I don't think that they are necessarily conscious of the fact that what they've tried to do is get away from the toilet and just, gravitating towards simple buzzwords like liberals did it all, the liberals did it all, doesn't really explain a totality of human existence by just blaming one political group. You can't just blame Republicans. There are people in Portland and in other leftist areas where you're like, oh, it's the Republicans and the Trump supporters. And see, that's their boogeyman. It's the same brainwave. It's the same psychosis. It's the same schizophrenia. It's the same left-right paradigm. I really hope to see my dreams realized. I'd like to pay off my land this year. Today's my first day working a full 8-hour day. Got a little bit of a warm-up a few days ago. And the main reason I want to make that money is so that I can have the freedom to go where I want to go. So I can live without the need for money to make payments on things other than food and water, right? And somewhere safe to be. And maybe certain other things we really only need so much. People say that we need other people, but I've been surviving a fairly isolated life, so I'm not so sure how much I need of others. And the point with that is that even though to a certain degree we're running out of resources in space, that's not going to stop some of us from still trying to get away from the herd of the evacuating humans, which have whole scale been demonized as zombies. And what people are not able to connect in this zombie apocalypse pop culture, haha, it's just so funny, zombie apocalypse, haha, life's just a joke, is that, these could be considered like the zombie horses. No, they weren't actual zombies. They were horses in search of resources that ended up dying in their search for water. Other theories aside that may exist about this. Perhaps there are other theories. And it is Arizona. But the point is, what would humans be called roaming for food and resources? And would they be welcomed with open arms, or would they be demonized as homeless trash to be put into a camp or to be put into one area? And do people even talk about putting some popular enemies or scapegoats, if you will, of today's day and age in one area and just, hitting the button? There are people that talk like that about other human beings. Based on politics, based on ethnicity, based on nationality, people talk about genocide on a more regular basis on social media. I've never seen people talking the way that they're talking now, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Not even close. So where are we going to be in 5? Are there going to be, Running Man games, right? As people travel the nation, taking their online troll-like behavior into real-world stalking, as we see just this migration of people trying to flee from one area to another for resources, to evade death, capture, harm. And again, this is in the day and age of the corruption involving BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. and discussions about wild horses being killed and the meat being sent to Mexico. Ground up horses in Mexico thanks to the BLM. And perhaps some mystery ingredients that might be out there in some particular item at the grocery store. So this is a story from the micro to the macro, beyond the illusions of separation, animal-human. Right? There's a lot more to the story than meets the eye.